What's up, everybody? Welcome to PS I Love You XOXO Episode 6. I am one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside He Only Does Everything, Colin Moriarty.
It's good to be here with you today again.
Yes. If you're not familiar with what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, Paris Games Week is upon us. PlayStation just finished their conference. Literally, it's over. We hit record on this thing. We already put up Episode 5 today, your normal episode, 9 a.m., of course, every Tuesday on Kind of Funny Games on your iTunes and every other podcast service of choice. But we're doing this bonus episode because that was all the news of last week. Now we get to react to this, what was it? 2.5 hour or an hour and a half press conference?
Yeah, hour and a half.
Press conference?
Yep, hour and a half. A little more than that.
What did you think of it, Colin Moriarty?
I thought it was great. I think to your point, when we were watching it together, a lot of the third-party multi-platform stuff out early, so it's not mixed in later. I hate how they do that shit at E3 when it's like Assassin's Creed towards the end. And I was like, it's not really what we want to see. No offense to Assassin's Creed or whatever game. Yeah, we want to see exclusives and what PlayStation is being defined with. Right. So the rhythm was nice. The announcements were cool. We saw some games that were in stasis for a while. We haven't seen anything out of a game like Wild for a while.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about it in quite some time.
And the most obvious announcement in the world happened at the end, which was Quantic Dream's new game. I called that a long time ago, but I'm not really going to give myself a Colin was right about that because it was, I think,
obvious,
really obvious.
Yeah. You want to talk about that? Start there with the big one.
I thought we would go in order, but whatever you want to do.
I'm asking you what you want to do.
I feel like we should, because I wrote notes and I think you probably maybe did too. We should just go in order of announcements so we don't skip anything, I think, right?
Okay,
don't you think?
For me? Sure. Yeah, it's however you want to do. These people are along for the ride no matter what. Right. You want to hear about Quantic, you just drop to the end. But why would you do that?
So this isn't a regular podcast in that we're not. This is the Roper's report, I guess. But I didn't write anything. I just have
possessive news.
Bullet points, and we'll talk about.
Yeah, me too. Of course. If you didn't know, of course, this is PS I Love You XOXO. It is kindoffunny.com's PlayStation podcast. It is the number 1 PlayStation podcast on the internet. It is the number 3 car talk podcast in the world of podcasting. If you like it, make sure you go to kindoffunny.com, subscribe to all the YouTube channels, back us on Patreon, go to the store, do all that jazz. Let's get right into it. We started this conference with new exclusive logos. That's probably the biggest thing, that there's now different logos for console exclusives coming first to PlayStation exclusive.
Well, I thought that I think Xbox does a really nice job during their conferences of the woman saying, Xbox exclusive or whatever, whatever she says. It just like sets the tone for what you're looking at and all that. And I don't think Sony talks about it, but both sides are really guilty of having a muddled message where, Microsoft called Tomb Raider an exclusive forever. It is not an exclusive. It is nowhere near being an exclusive. It never was an exclusive. And so I think that particular instance got people a little upset, and some other things where it's like, what does that word mean? We always talk about the meaning of words, and exclusive means something. So Sony, to their credit, is trying to whittle that down with these new blue and white logos that say, first on PlayStation, exclusive content on PlayStation, and PlayStation exclusive. So we know, just talk about it.
Console exclusive is thrown around a lot.
It started, with the normal corporate talk, looking back at PS1, which is it's the 20th anniversary of PS1's launch in the West. I mean, Japan, it came out in 1994, but it came out in 1995 in America and Europe. But the first game they showed was Call of Duty Black Ops 3, specifically Zombies, specifically the PlayStation, I think, exclusive Zombies map, which is this big open kind of map. Looks fun. Don't care. Talked about.
You care. You said
I care about Call of Duty, but I mean, I don't care about.
You're never gonna play the zombie mode.
I don't need to see this, and I will play Zombies mode.
Yeah.
But the console that I know it's probably gonna do really well. That console is hideous.
That black and orange.
It's hideous.
No, that's not a good looking console.
But yeah, looks slick and it looks fun. Call of Duty sells because it's fun.
Yeah.
Second one they showed was Battlefront, a new Battlefront trailer. This is a cool trailer because it showed a lot of the characters. These characters have been announced already.
Right, but
they were announced like last week, right? But we see them in motion. So Leia and Han and Boba Fett.
Boba Fett had his little joke there.
Yeah, when he went over the Sarlacc pit. When he got made into a bitch on the skiff on Jabba's skiff in the Tatooine desert.
When he went out
Return
like
of the Jedi. Yeah. So looks fun, looks cool. It's not a game for me. The third game that was talked about, Greg, that I think we can really get into a little bit more is Street Fighter V.
Right.
So they talked about Street Fighter V. The big news is that February 16th, 2016 is when it's going to come out. 16 characters.
Final one is harder.
They had Harada come on, who we'll talk about in a minute because, of course, he's associated with Tekken. They announced Old Man Dalsim, as I like to call him.
Yeah, you were very excited about that. You thought that was cool.
Yeah,
as a Street Fighter fan, you thought it was a nice touch that he's aged.
Yeah, I like Street Fighter. I play it these days in a very cursory kind of way, but it's one of those games. You know, Tim often talks about how he doesn't play a lot of games, but he's into like learning about them and watching them and stuff like that. And Street Fighter is one of those games where I actually get excited to just, because I have a very old school connection to that series, very kindred connection to that series. It's cool to see these characters again. I'm disappointed with what they did to Ken, who's like my favorite character. I think he looks terrible, but Dalsim is older. He's got like a beard, and I just think it's a nice little take on it. So the 15 characters have now been announced. There is a 16th character. I don't know who it's going to be.
Right.
They did announce that in the first year after release, so from February 16th, I guess, to February 16th, 2017, there'll be 6 new characters available, and they should all be available for free if you use the in-game currency Fight Money, it's called. I don't know how you earn it. I don't know anything about it.
Which means you can buy them with real money if you don't want to. But that's how they announced it, of course. Fight Money will get it.
Exactly.
So just play for a year. You'll be fine.
Do you have anything to add on this? By the way, do we have did you collect any reader questions, or are we not doing anything?
The reader questions are being put right now on the forums. I just tweeted out the link saying if you want to talk about it, post questions, comments, concerns, you can jump.
So you're going to do that dynamically?
Exactly. Well, I'm going to let them build up for a little bit, and then we'll go through and knock them out.
Because I just don't want to talk forever here.
Okay. Topic of the show, it's Roper's Report, it's everything at once.
Right, this is an irregular episode.
If this is the first time you've ever seen PS I Love You XOXO, sorry. It's usually more structured than this. There's usually more jokes. But today it's all news. We got a big fat news sandwich delivered by Shuhei Yoshida, and it's time to put it in our mouths.
Well then. As you mentioned, Katsuhiro Harada, who's the visionary behind Tekken, came out on stage when they were going to announce the 16 characters. A very awkward exchange between everyone on stage. But then he announced Tekken 7 is coming to PlayStation 4. Unclear if it's a console exclusive like Street Fighter 5 is. I don't know. I don't know anything about Tekken lore, so I'm sorry for all of our fighting fans out there. It seems like it's a prequel, or at least has prequel sensibilities in terms of the story. And they announced later on that it will use PlayStation VR, and we'll talk a lot about PlayStation VR later.
Oh, we will.
But it'll be PlayStation VR compatible. They showed a Battleborn trailer from Gearbox. Game looks fine. It's a MOBA. It's not really a game for me.
Sure, but when we talked about it at the GameStop Expo with Randy Pitchford, he did sell me on it, where I want to play that game, I want to give it a shot. Now, I kept saying MOBA. He's like, it's got MOBA tendencies, but it's not a MOBA,
It's a dirty word.
Exactly.
Well, it's a good word, maybe, but yeah.
With us and our people, sure. Like, yeah, but I don't want to throw that one just under the bus, totally. You know what I mean? Like, I'm interested in seeing that one and what it's all about.
Looking something up real quick.
You're allowed to do that.
So they showed Battleborn, that's fine.
That's the beta first there.
They showed a game, console exclusive to PS4 called Boundless. Mm-hmm. I don't know much about this. People should go look at the trailer. At first when I saw it, I was like, is this the Tomorrow Children? Like, did they like, because it went away for a while, I was like, did they redo art assets or something? But because I got that Minecraft, Tomorrow Children vibe from it, but I just don't know what it is.
If you remember when they started, I immediately knee-jerk reaction said, it's No Man's Sky. And then we went with that for a few seconds, and I was like, wait, I've never seen a hammer like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that is. I'm pulling up the PlayStation blog post that went up about Boundless during the conference. Boundless is a super ambitious PS4 and PC cross-platform game where everyone plays together in a single online universe. Boundless is a big, open-ended game, and the best way to explain why it's cool is to tell you what you might do, because it's your story. Your homeworld and beyond. Then he goes into a giant thing here. You're teaming up, you got a homeworld, you do all this other stuff, you're writing your own story. Hunt for creatures in dangerous areas and sell rare loot. Offer your services to master builder to other citizens to honest work. Collect the weirdest creatures from across the universe and open up a space zoo. Then charge the citizens coin to come visit. Create amazing sandbox contraptions. Like, yeah, we're not going to play this.
No, definitely not.
Look pretty, but not for us, for sure.
They showed, this is when our feed went down for a little while. I think they showed Amplitude.
See, I don't know. Was it because they put a developer in front of it that wasn't Harmonix?
Oh, I don't know.
Let me dig into that one. Yeah. I agree that is when our feed died.
That is a dark black hole in my sheet here. All right, now we're getting into the fucking nitty gritty.
This is where they start to excel, and we get super excited
because this is when we really start talking about. Like, I'm looking at my list. Actually, these are all exclusives from here, either console exclusive or just straight up exclusive. So, No Man's Sky.
I'm sorry. Real quick before you go, here's I think your answer.
No, don't mind it. Don't mind it.
Let's get through the thing we were talking about. Unless I'm wrong about here it is. It's Vector. Vector announced for PS4, developed in collaboration with AVC. Vector is a multiplayer music game offering a seamless fusion between gameplay, graphics, and music. The idea is a responsive experience where you and your friends' performance not only affect the race and the final rankings, but will also bring dynamic challenges to the music and environment, which will make each race feel like your own little remixed version of that particular track. Sounds like another game we'll never play.
Yeah, not for me. It looks fine. I saw just little bits and pieces
We
of
have
it. It
to
was
double
muted
back and
and
watch that trailer.
yeah, exactly. So I don't want to. I don't want to.
Reactions.
Yeah, I don't want to jump the gun and all of this. Let me see. I just want to. I'm just looking real quick.
I'm gonna look real quick at this thing over.
Let's see. What
are you looking for? Let me help you.
I want to just find. So here's the thing. All right. So No Man's Sky is the next game up.
Yeah.
I always thought that this was already confirmed. People talk about it like it's not, and I feel like they reconfirmed it tonight, but I'm not sure, or today, this morning. No Man's Sky, console exclusive on PS4, right? I mean, they have that game locked down, right? I mean, is that the assumption that you have based on the way they talked about the game? And
they put it in front console exclusive, and I thought we had known that forever, but that leaves the door open for PC. That's always the one thing we talk about.
PC is coming. Yeah. We know that.
Then I think it was just a clarification, but I think it's one of those things that, isn't news, but might be news to some people, similar to like Sony not doing first-party Vita stuff anymore.
Right. So the big news about No Man's Sky, regardless of where it's going to land and when it's going to land, and that we have a date. Or a month. It's June 2016.
Not imminentely.
Not imminently.
This week, like
so
some
obvious.
people were
That rumor was so fucking stupid.
Yeah, people get excited.
Now I think that's.
I know.
It's not. I don't care if people are getting excited or not. That was a rumor from a reputable site that is dead wrong. It was obviously wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now. There's more to be said about No Man's Sky. I don't think we've seen the last of it in terms of its showing at shows. I think that my prediction with this is that PSVR compatibility will be announced at PSX for the game. But we still saw another trailer. The trailer seemed to take it more seriously. There's a VO, and it's world building now.
Let's
and all this.
explain some stuff to you rather than just show you the same demo where you get out and identify that worm.
Exactly.
Nobody knows what the hell's happening.
Exactly. So No Man's Sky, June 2016, PS4, PC. Presumably console exclusive on PS4 based on the way it was talked about.
100% console exclusive. That's because if you remember, that was the introduction to this. The next 3 games are console exclusives confirmed for 2016.
Okay.
And it was Boundless, the Vector game, and then No Man's Sky.
Okay.
So that's locked.
Next up, and this is Game of the Year candidate already, is Matterfall.
Yeah.
Now, Matterfall, we don't even know what it is. All I know is Housemarque's making it. You can see here on where is it over here on my Housemarque logo, my little Easter egg, because I'm so obsessed with them. And the people that are running it,
siren.
the sirens are going off.
Shuhei's ringing all the bells in town.
What do you think? So Matterfall, the vibe I got from this particular PlayStation 4 game.
Yeah.
No surprise that they're working. No mention of Alienation. Alienation was shown. Alienation is the other Housemarque PS4 game. Was shown in the sizzle reel. Matterfall is something else, and the vibe. So I was talking to you about it. I was like, I've never seen a Housemarque trailer like this.
Yeah, no, it looked like it could be something completely different.
Yeah, and I'm like,
person, big game.
So my assumption originally was like, are they working on a AAA game?
Yeah,
and then I was like, no, they're not going to.
For me, the butt came when they switched to the side profile, and he was running, shooting, blowing the people into little things. It looked like, I'm blanking on the PS4 launch game. The best one ever.
Resogun.
Thank you.
The voxels. Well, it's like voxels,
when you're running, how you run on that plane, that's what it looked like, except you were literally running on, on foot shooting things.
That's what they do. They Housemarque understands the addiction cycle with the game. They do. They totally get it. They totally nail it. We don't know anything else about the game.
Would you like some more information from XDev about the game?
Sure.
Matterfall follows an unexpected hero fighting for survival on a ravished sci-fi world infected by a mysterious and deadly alien material known only as smart matter. Using agility and powerful weaponry, you must explore this new world and utilize your own control over the smart matter to uncover the mystery of this new threat and save the day before it threatens the very existence of the human race. Expect over-the-top action through a vivid sci-fi world and all the addictive, lightning-fast arcade gameplay that you would expect from our friends at Housemarque, the veteran team behind PlayStation Classics, Resogun, Dead Nation, and Super Stardust. That's all they have. More news in the future.
Yeah, it's smart for them to continue to get into bed with Housemarque. We were talking about an episode or two ago, I think, about studios that Sony should buy, and everyone's talking about Insomniac and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, they should buy Housemarque.
Yeah.
Like, take it to the bank. Like they've never made a bad game or even a good game. They make great games, great games, fantastic, awesome games. There's no reason to expect that Alienation, which is probably somewhat imminent, and we'll probably see that at PSX, and then Matterfall will not be more of the same for them. And I have to email them later. And
first half of
find
2016, I predict. For Alienation.
Oh, for Alienation. Yeah. All right, next up, we saw Ratchet & Clank from Insomniac's East Coast studio. 2016 beautiful. Looks great to coincide with the movie, so not much more to say about that. Horizon Zero Dawn was interesting to me.
It's what you saw, right? You were telling me?
So the demo that was shown is the demo I saw behind closed doors at E3.
Okay.
Pretty much beat for beat. I could be wrong. It could be in a different area and stuff, but the idea was that she was sneaking up on this herd of robotic dinosaurs and was using near a river, using these rope traps to trap them and then gathering all their materials. Then they fought the huge massive dinosaur. She fought the huge massive dinosaur in my demo. Then they stopped the camera and showed how big the dinosaur was.
That was cool.
So they did that in my demo though. Like, so I'm saying is like for beat, that is what I saw.
That's awesome.
They did it live when I saw it.
I love it when they do that though, because that's the same thing. My Uncharted, behind closed doors demo at E3, right, was the the part after you hit the thing on the rope and then you get dragged through and there's the fire and Elena died. And now they show that, right? Like I like that eventually the walls come down and the people get to see it. Plus, you figure it's an easy way for them to double dip. They get to make one demo. Here it is. We don't want to show you too much, so we show the press this, and then we show it to you later, and it's new to you. Like the old NBC thing.
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to see much more of it anyway. It looked like it was running better, but we were watching it in a somewhat standard def state because we were having internet problems. So I don't want to speak too authoritatively about that. The big news from Herman when he was on stage from Gorilla, 2016. So no specific date, but a year given 2016. You have to assume this is going to be the big fall game. And this game looks really, really, really good.
Yeah.
I think that there's every reason in the world to be very excited about this game. And as I tweeted out earlier today that some people might have seen, this is really Guerrilla leveling up a little bit. This is Guerrilla can do more than Killzone. And there's as people who listen to us back on Podcast Beyond back in the old days know, I've always been really hard on Guerrilla because I think that they're capable of doing more than what they were doing. And I think Shadowfall was a step in that direction with their core series, which I'm not so sure they'll ever revisit again. Horizon's something different and something new and something fresh. This action RPG, it looks fucking awesome. It really does.
It was one of those, we gave it, game of the show at E3 for Kind of Funny, our first ever Kind of Funny game of the show award. And you watch this and it's like, this is why. You know what I mean? You're watching this demo that's a little bit different, but still awesome looking. The action's crazy. The guys are huge. They're talking about how they ripped off Freedom Wars, of course, and you can take out selected parts of the enemy and then use them against them. That's cool. Freedom Wars 2. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, not going to happen. It's cool to give for people that were a little more skeptical, seeing what I saw behind closed doors when I was all about giving the game of the show. Maybe this gives you a little more context, and maybe you agree now. They showed a trailer for Bloodborne: The Old Hunters, which comes out November 24th. This is a Bloodborne DLC, obviously PS4 exclusive. Looks fun. I like the flamethrower weapon and the big spinning blade weapon he has. Yeah. It reminded me that I really enjoyed playing Bloodborne. I actually started to get into the gameplay loop a little bit, and the rewarding,
the challenge
fucking glacial kind of way you play the game. And I actually really started to enjoy it. And I think the reason I stopped, if I remember correctly, is because I had to go on vacation and I was gone for 2.5 weeks. And it's not a game you just pick back up.
Right.
It's a game that I we're taking the last 2 weeks of the year off. I'm going to be pretty much alone. I think that's one of the games that I might revisit and see what happens, or maybe even start from the beginning. I don't know if I can actually just jump back in again. They talked about Drive Club DLC called Bikes.
It's expansion or standalone, they said.
Okay. So Drive Club Bikes available right now. So that was their so that was their big, their what was the game last year, Entwined at E3.
Oh yeah.
When they're like, it's available now, and I was like, it's not very good. This is this particular DLC is available now. So Drive Club continues to rock on. It looks very pretty.
Yeah.
Gravity Rush 2 was shown off. I'm glad that they gave Japan Studio Games some screen time, even though they're traders to the Vita.
Yeah, of course. And the fact that this game just looks like the fucking Vita game.
Yeah, it really does.
If you played Gravity Rush, you're like, are these just the same environment? I mean, obviously they're super high def and all this jazz, but it's like, is this the same world doing the same thing? Yeah,
so that's one of my notes. I said it looks the same. Kichiro Toyama, who's obviously the guy behind the game, was on stage. They talk a little bit about co-op and some other new options that will be available in the game.
AI tag team.
Yeah, they did not mention They did not mention the Gravity Rush HD port that will be coming to PS4, and we'll get more into other ports that they didn't announce yet, or they didn't talk about either.
But they do have 3 gravity styles now, Colin. Luna, Jupiter, and then your regular old one you've been playing as forever. Sometimes you're heavier, sometimes you're lighter. They all look kind of the same. New.
Very new. Uncharted 4 at Thief's End was shown next. This was specifically multiplayer. I was surprised to see Christophe Balestre come to the stage until I remembered he's French. So the first thing, and we already knew about this, the beta will run for the multiplayer beta from the 4th to the 13th so they can stress test it. They did reiterate the game will come out in March. I still don't believe it.
March 18th.
And what I liked about the multiplayer seemed frenetic. It seemed a little bit more dynamic. I don't know the nature of the different modes that will be in it, but what I did like about what I saw from the multiplayer, and I don't know if you agree, is that it's just a shit ton of throwbacks.
Yeah,
which is really, really cool. The characters, the way it ends with the tomb from, or the sarcophagus from
Diablo,
from the original Uncharted.
That was the thing. He talked about there being new things that are sidekicks and mystical powers. Sidekicks are you can spawn an AI enemy or AI guy to help you, and then mystical being that you can drop in El Goddamn Dorado, and he'll send out the stuff because if you touched him, remember if you touched the gold thing, you got all possessed. That was happening at one point. Elena, hit up a power up and she got to shoot around like the guys at the end of Uncharted 3. It was cool, and I didn't understand at the time because it was all happening so fast. We were calling out, you're like, is that Marlo? I'm like, probably, yeah. And then we saw Eddie again. We saw the enemies that you'd be able to play as, and just like you've always been able to. But then a guy popped up in the medic badge. Was like, are they adding classes? What is that? And then I remembered the sidekicks thing from earlier, showing that's what that was going to be.
Yeah, there was one thing when Elena threw like a grenade that was actually like a healing grenade. Or whatever.
Exactly. Now they have the ability, to throw out those things.
It seems frenetic. It's one of those things that I liked the wave based multiplayer. When playing with friends, I thought that was fun.
Yeah, you remember I got really into Uncharted 2 multiplayer, and that looking at that kind of reminded me of like, oh man, those are good times. I'm excited to try that again.
Yeah, it runs well, and on Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3 it was fun. It wasn't like the draw of the games to me, but
sure.
Yeah, it's cool that they focused on that. I'm sure we'll see one more look at it before it comes out, probably at PSX.
Nice to see that they had the grappling hook too. One of the big things they've shown from Uncharted single player now is in that game, right? In here as well, so you can swing around like a bunch of goofs.
So yeah, I enjoyed the throwbacks and the kind of the frenetic nature, but they didn't talk at all about single player, and no one really needs to see any more of it. Anyway.
Yeah, we're done.
All right, so let's really get into the confusing shit now. Dreams. Media Molecule, not surprisingly, took to this, being a European studio, took to the stage to show off Dreams. Rather, they noted that it's still an alpha. The beta will run in 2016. It is not clear if it's a 2016 game. It probably isn't.
No way. So unless they're going to do like Minecraft and the beta is the game and they put that out and then go from there. Dreams
is a little less confusing to me now. Yeah. We'll get into this in a minute, but what they basically showed is you create an imp, and the imp in the demo was like a little piece of like a little flame, orange flame, and they said you can explore and communicate and do all these kinds of things through the conduit of the imp.
He follows the controller, the motion of the controller.
Right, so it's 6-axis controlled. You can use the touchpad and stuff like that.
Draw faces.
It seemed like watching the guys play, they're using the triggers a lot too.
Yeah.
So it seems like a pretty dynamic game in that respect. I don't know. I really don't believe in the ability of this game to deliver what it's going to deliver, because the one thing that they made me, there's two things they said that scared me. One was it could be a platform, it could be a puzzle game, it could be a sandbox game, it could be a racing game. I'm like, all right, so you do all these things, but you're the master of none of them, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that they said that concerned me was that they use their old game Little Big Planet as the benchmark, where they're like, we had the play and the create things that were separate. So you could theoretically play Little Big Planet and never create anything, and people enjoyed doing that. People like playing the game like that, and the sequel the same way. They said that they're kind of fusing those more intimately together. I'm like, nope. That's like not the reason I play games. You make the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then you sell it to me.
That was the thing, is like, we didn't understand what the fuck Dreams was when we first saw it. You see it now and you're like, okay, I get it more. And it's Little Big Planet now where the imp is Sackboy is what I felt like. Now I think the worlds are going to be different. You can do more. We saw the demo where I think what you're talking about, he went into a level, right? And he was able to then put more trees down and put the house down and find the door to get through the thing to get to it. It's like, okay, fine. But it's like, not every level has to be that, obviously, but then I'm more concerned of just like, I don't want to sit there and motion control everything, because there was a point because you can use the imp to possess things, and like you can grab objects and move them with it, but then you can possess things like the doll he did. And then if you watched during the demo, like when the doll was walking, he was like moving the controller like this, like rotating the controller left, right, or right, left, right. You know what I mean? Like to be the legs
it's
of it.
just not
and I was
fun.
like, no fucking way. I don't
not
do
fun.
that at all.
That's just not fun. And
Really pretty. I'm sure. I think it will deliver what it's trying to deliver. I think it's. Not, I don't know if people want that.
I don't think it's going to deliver what it, I mean, who knows? The game's so far out. I don't want to criticize the shit out of it, and I've not played it, but I just based on, I don't think it can deliver what it's going to deliver because I don't even think it knows what it is. Like what is it?
I think it's Little Big Planet on PS4.
But it doesn't, but Little Big Planet's easy to understand.
Sure.
Like the sequence they show with the trees in the house and going through the door, is that part of the game? Is that going to happen for everyone?
Mm-hmm.
I think when we talked to Shuhei at E3, one of my criticisms of Dreams was like, you guys have a lot of explaining to do. No one knows what this game even is. And they knew that. They're not stupid.
Yeah.
And they have to have this very thoughtful, and I'm sure they do, PR plan to roll out, and they started today, explaining what Dreams is. It makes you wonder, like, why not just make a game that's a little more self-explanatory? Like, why? I appreciate Media Molecule. I think they're fantastic. I know people at that studio, including Shaban, who runs the studio. She's a really great woman. And they're smart and they're clever and they're weird.
They are artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you talk about art and games and who, they are artists in the way of they make these abstract things that they want you to pull meaning from and interact with and make your own story and stuff like that.
But I still feel like I want to see like a game.
Sure.
Make a game. They are artists, so deliver to me your vision for a game.
I feel like the level you watched, right, is going to be a level similar to one you'll find in the game where you're early on, it's explaining how you play this game. And you jump in and there's nothing there. And there's like bubble in the tree. There's clicked on. And it's like you have to make, You could put 0 trees down, just drop the house and get into the house and use the door. Like the door was the big thing to get to. So it's about placing that door and going.
Right. I think they're super talented and I'm hoping that I'm wrong. For all of that artistic talent, for all of that vision that they have, and they have incredible vision, maybe more than any of the other studios in first party, it's like, just make a game.
Yeah.
Just make a game, Like, you did it with Tearaway. It wasn't really for me, but a lot of people fucking love that game. And that was them making a game. Just like they made a game with Little Big Planet. It hurts to go too abstract, and I think that, it might hurt them. Like, how do you sell this game? Like, what is it, and how do you sell it? And like,
here's my thing though. Aren't we having the same conversation we had with when we first saw Little Big Planet? Like, it was play, create, share, which was this cool idea. But how are we going to create levels, and where will we do this, and how do you do it? And are the levels going to come, and will they be incomplete? Like, I feel like we're just knee jerking to what we saw. What I saw, I was like, that's cool. I don't know if I'd be in for 10, 12 hours of it, and I don't know if everybody else would be too. Somebody will be, but will it be? I'm more worried about it being financial success rather than that. I believe in Media Molecule. I think they can deliver on their vision, and I just don't think they've explained their vision yet, because that's how this works, like you're saying.
Right.
We had the betas in 2016. We got plenty of fucking time to get explained what this is.
Yeah, I hope that they continue to explain
Don't forget PSX is in a month and a half.
I will say, though, that Little Big Planet was not abstract. I mean, Little Big Planet was easy to understand. Like, I remember when they rolled it out, and it was not... Like, it had a campaign. It was a side-scroller. I mean, that's what it was.
But I'm talking about,
and then you can create whatever you want.
Web 2.0, PlayStation 2.0. He was talking about. You know what I mean? Like, I understand you were talking about it as it rolled out. I'm talking about it on first glance coming back to IGN when it was at GDC that one year. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was like, oh, we came back and immediately everybody understood 100% what it was. Is what I'm saying.
And it didn't. To your point, Little Big Planet was a massive hit. So
yeah.
For PS3, it was a game it really needed at that time.
I don't see that being the case here, but again, we're at ground zero, or a little bit removed from ground zero.
Yeah, no, I just, I guess I'm a little just disappointed and frustrated with them because, like, to your point, they have such incredible potential to do something like it's like with we'll get into it with David Cage and stuff. It's like, even though you can make choices, David Cage, even though you can make lots of choices and it's nonlinear, like, it's his story. Like, you're gonna get where he wants you to go one way or the other. It might be a different outcome. So there's such a thing as leaving a game too open-ended, and I don't want open-ended. That's not why I play games. It's the same reason why I talk about how I don't play adventure and puzzle games, really, because it's like, I don't want to be frustrated and annoyed. Like, that's not just.
But I feel
deliver the game.
I feel like you're coming at it from the wrong way. You're coming at it as, tell me a story, tell me what you want me to know about this game, and they're coming at it as, we want you to interpret whatever the hell you want. I mean, Little Big Planet, right outside of like the platinum forming pieces, it wasn't like frustrating, right? Like, they want you being dropped in an open space, and they're like, drop as many trees as you want, but make sure you put down a door. Isn't going to frustrate you. It may not be what you want or whatever.
No, because I just want the door and the trees to already be there,
and you're done. Well, then it's a walking simulator. Walk this doll over there and do this.
I mean, I don't use that term in a pejorative way. There have been, 3/4 Home and Gone Home and all these others are great walking simulators,
I'm aware.
So it's not,
I mean, 3-4 Home is really a driving simulator.
It's
Or a
really
phone
just
call
a choose your
conversation.
own adventure game.
It's just a really stupid, and like you're so worried about me, you want me to talk while this rain comes down. It's like, let me get off the phone, Mom, Dad,
I've got
weird brother.
I gotta say, I found that game very powerful.
No, it was great.
I got all the trophies on the Vita there. All right, then they got into PlayStation VR.
Shuhei Yoshida came out.
Shuhei came out for this. They talked about rigs first,
Yeah.
which they described as esports in VR. I hadn't gotten a chance to play the game, and I've not read much about it. It looks really cool. I know we're a little behind on it, but it gave me a Rocket League vibe, not in the way of it's a soccer game with cars, in the way that it fuses two things that have nothing to do with each other into something that is a sport. So in this case, it's shooting. And like robotic kind of, on almost like a tracker, like a,
It reminded me of like what I would call first person IDARB. You know what I mean? Like you're jumping around, grabbing this thing, trying to get to the goal, you're getting ejected, all this stuff. But cool. It was cool.
It looked very cool.
Do you want to play it then?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a game. It reminds me of Rocket League, where we'll probably get it early and I'll play it and be good at it, and then when everyone starts playing it, I won't be good and I'll stop playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Riggs looks really cool. It's in development at Gorilla Cambridge, who we talked about during our first party segments last week. Yeah, not much else to say about it. I'm glad, we've often talked about how it's difficult to show the VR experience to anyone in a trailer. And
did they solve that this time?
They did and they didn't. I mean, they made that trailer using whatever assets they had, plus like real people playing in their VR headsets. So that's the solution probably.
Sure.
They showed Until Dawn: Rush of Blood, which is real. Which is real.
If you caught the first half of our PS I Love You for today, we were talking about how we're like, oh, I hope that's not real. That sounds terrible. And then we watched it happen. You're in the mine cart, 2 pistols, the ghost pops out. We're like, oh, that looks fucking bad. Like, you know what I mean? I'm sure, whatever. I'm gonna, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt, but I'm like, oh, like, is this what you want you want PlayStation VR? You want VR to be like, here's what it is. It's on-rail shooters, like you've played on the Wii. It's like,
I have more concern over even the nature of the game, because it's an on-rail shooter, whatever. Why would you do this to Until Dawn? Like, I don't understand why you would squander the IP like this already. Like, the IP has so much good faith, and you're putting out something potentially, it might be great, it might be fucking awesome, I have no idea.
Right.
But you're putting out something potentially that will confuse the market about what Until Dawn is, and I don't understand why this IP, why couldn't it just be called Rush of Blood and you're on a train car and you're fighting enemies or ghouls or whatever? Why does it have to be associated with Until Dawn? It's just weird.
You imagine somebody was like, we have a horror franchise, this is this horror demo we have, let's make it into a horror game, put them together, fuse them together, try to capitalize on the goodwill, which could easily blow up in their face. Yeah. But it could also just go the same way of, though, how many games have had stuff slapped on it and you're still excited for the core part of it? You know what I mean? Ratchet & Clank, there's been a bunch of weird Ratchet & Clanks or whatever, and it's like people are still super stoked about real Ratchet & Clank coming back when there's a real Until Dawn again. But we're already talking about it in the way I'm sure they're terrified of people talking about it when there's a real Until Dawn.
Yeah,
not this on rails fucking cart shit.
Yeah, and so I'm not trying to be overly critical in the sense that it could be a great game in and of itself. I just don't understand why it has to be an Until Dawn game.
Yeah.
It's not even like a 10 million seller IP, and you're like, oh, we got to take advantage of this. It's like, this is a game that really snuck up on people and has a lot of respect and is in a lot of Game of the Year consideration in terms of like your top 5 or whatever. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Call the game Rush of Blood, remove the Until Dawn references, and let them make the sequel. And just stop. Just stop. That's my opinion on that.
We'll see.
Crytek came to the stage to show a PSVR game called Robinson: The Journey, which will come to PlayStation VR first.
Yeah.
So it'll presumably come to Oculus later. I wonder if Robinson is a reference to Robinson Crusoe. I also, and that's the nature kind of exploration vibe is what I got from
dinosaurs and a robot eye taking you around.
The robot eye reminded me a little bit of Destiny. I'm sure that they were a little disappointed. I'm sure the game was in development for a long time.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what's his name?
Your Ghost.
Ghost. Don't know much about it. Put you in a prehistoric kind of setting. Big brontosaurus kind of things walking around.
Here, I'll give you some information. How about that?
Okay.
In Robinson, you assume the role of a young boy who has crash landed on a mysterious planet and must become a pioneer of sorts as you explore your surroundings, interact with the world around you, and discover amazing secrets at every turn. I can't go into too many specifics right now, but that's the very high-level overview. Then it goes on for a long time. You can't talk about stuff. Probably the best place to start is a couple of VR demos. That's fine. Blah, blah. I thought it was one of the most interesting pieces of the conference for something that was new.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bunch of new things shown. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'll look into it or whatever. This is one where I was like, I'd like to play that right now and see what that's all about. That seems like a really cool thing. First person exploring on this dinosaur planet. Right?
Yeah, I think it sounds cool too. I was interested more in the semantics of it as well in terms of Crytek. Like Crytek was in a lot of trouble, so they're still functioning and making something that looks AAA.
Yeah.
Because, we remember the conversation with Homefront and all this, like where they stopped paying the guys who were making Homefront Revolution. The game was taken then in-house by Deep Silver. So I was actually surprised to see them.
Yeah.
But here they are.
What are we striving to achieve with Robinson the Journey? You could say that it's about recreating that level of authenticity on a much, much grander scale. He's talking about some of the previous demos they had done. That means not just making something visually stunning, but also telling a story that is emotionally engaging and which resonates with players beyond the game world. Also, a shout out to JRod0823 in the comments who says, looks neat. Can't wait to see it in person when it launches. Shout out to Colin and Greg Live. What up?
What up?
I mean, this isn't that show, but it's the reaction to whatever. You understand.
All right. They showed Rebellion's new game Battlezone, which is going to come first to PSVR. I don't really have much to say about that.
It looked like No Man's Sky with tanks.
Yeah.
You were in a tank. And it's like, all right, cool.
Interesting
whatever.
art style for
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Shuhei confirmed that there are over 200 developers working on PSVR, so it seems like it's going to have a vibrant kind of ecosystem. I like, by the way, Greg, that Shuhei could have come out to talk about anything that he wanted. He is a great, as Jim Ryan pointed out, he is a great spokesperson for VR
because he believes,
and I really do think he does believe in it. I believe in it too. I don't know about its commercial viability, but I believe in the ability of making really awesome games. And they showed that cool rope walk movie.
Yeah, the walk. Yeah, Joseph Gordon.
Everyday people using PlayStation VR, and how realistic it could be, and can give you like total, like vertigo and stuff like that. So it's I appreciate that they really are behind it. To your point, they really are going to try to sell this thing.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, that's the thing is like you go back to episode 2 of PS I Love You XOXO when Shuhei was on, and like that's where he sells me on PlayStation believing in VR, right? Like I've used VR. I think it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I worry about its commercial viability as you do, but like that's the one where he talked about it and when he said that it was, this is the next 20 years of PlayStation. That got me excited and interested. You know what I mean? That they believe in it to that level, that they think that this is like the first steps, and sure, they're going to be shaking, there'll be a lot of problems, but coming out and saying that there's more than 200 developers working on stuff, putting Valkyrie up, putting London Heist up. Now, that's my whole thing with the London Heist. We've done that tech demo a million times. I didn't know if they'd ever confirmed before that that's actually going to be a game. That's like something a consumer can get their hands on.
Yeah, I don't know if it will be a game, though. Or if it's going to be something that you download for free or download for a fraction of the price to get an hour experience. But that was new stuff
they were showing, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't the same stuff I've played.
No, definitely. I wonder this too, but just in the sense of,
what does it mean?
Yeah, is it just a thing that will come with PlayStation VR, or
they put up Megaton Rainfall in that trailer, a compilation trailer, Heaven's Sword, the Final Fantasy thing, and close out with Until Dawn. They're VR segments. VR.
They ended with 3 big games, other than Matterfall, which is of course the most important announcement of the conference.
Oh, and they did. You already said the Tekken 7 thing, but that was how they ended their VR segment. Sorry.
All right, so the big 3 that they ended with, they announced the new Gran Turismo game. It's not Gran Turismo 7. It is called Gran Turismo Sport. It is PlayStation 4 exclusive. They stress connectivity and championships, kind of like new ways to play, new ways to interact with other racers around the world. The beta testing will start in early 2016. They have not given a date. I assume that it will not be a 2016 game. They did confirm what Greg has been saying, which is that it's going to be PlayStation VR compatible, although not exclusive.
I had been predicting it being exclusive, right. But because I immediately tweeted after the trailer for Sport went through, I was like, why aren't these people wearing VR headsets? And then it's going to be compatible. It is going to be very interesting for me to see. They announce it here and they talk about VR. I still think that PS I Love You. PSX is when they're going to push really hard on PlayStation VR, and I imagine from then on out, I wouldn't be surprised if you're there. Hey, you want to do a demo of GT? You're wearing the fucking headset. You know what I mean? That they're making a big deal about it.
Right.
But we'll see.
Not much more to say about it because we're not huge racing fans, other than to say that the game looks extraordinarily beautiful.
Support your manufacturer, as it said.
Support your country. Support your manufacturer. The second of these 3 games they closed with was Wild, which we hadn't seen in a long time. We saw it at Gamescom last year.
You ride a bear.
It looks cool.
You're a shaman.
It looks cool.
It didn't do much for me. I mean, it looked fine, don't get me wrong, but just the gameplay stuff, I was like, all right.
Yeah, I don't know what the point of the game is. It seems like it's an open world.
Yeah.
Non-linear. I like the idea that you're playing as a guy that can then control animals. I think that that's a really cool idea. So the examples they use of, he took control of like a falcon or eagle or whatever that was flying around and to find some snakes that they needed to create an antidote, but then they needed to penetrate this cannibal camp. So they use a rabbit to kind of like run in. The rabbit didn't actually do anything. It just showed you like what
You scout out what's happening.
The rabbit had a very cute swimming
he swims
animation.
so adorably.
And then he uses a bear that he's riding to go in and clean house. I don't know what the nature of the game is. They said that it is very early in development still. So I don't think we're going to see it even maybe in 2017, but it looks cool. I don't know. It seems like the placement of it, it's a PlayStation 4 exclusive.
Yep.
And so Sony's funding it and publishing it on PS4 only, and it seems like they're behind it based on where they showed it.
Sure.
They are a French developer though.
Yeah. Interesting idea, but I don't know, man. I need to see more before I get anything about it.
My interest definitely peaked. And then the game that they ended with was Quantic Dream's game, long rumored to be called Singularity. It is actually called Detroit Become Human.
Right.
It is a PlayStation 4 exclusive from Quantic Dream. No release date was given. I assume it will not be next year. It looks really cool. Now, everything Quantic Dream does looks cool, and we've had the highest of the highs with Heavy Rain and what I would call as a pretty low with Beyond Two Souls. So there's reasons to be skeptical, but I'll be excited until I play the game and it's bad. You know?
Exactly. No, that's the thing about it, right?
I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm saying I'll be excited until if it is bad.
Yeah. You hope that the big criticism for Beyond Two Souls, right, was it felt like it was just meandering. The timeline was all shaken up. What the hell's the story, right? Even when you got demos for Beyond Two Souls and stuff, you have this entity that follows you around, does all this stuff. It's like, all right, cool, but like, how's that all? Like, already, I'm super excited about this story, right? That it's picking up from pretty much from where the trailer left off. Kara's out there. She is sentient. She has emotions. She wants to live, right? And so she's walking through this world that she was super excited to be a part of. And then she sees how the other robots and androids are being treated or whatever, right? And as she walks, they're all reacting to that. They can tell that she's different. You know what I mean? Like that, like you said it best, I think, when we're doing is that we always play the other side of the story. We always see the human side of this story. We never play the I'm an android and I want to, you know what I mean? Like, what's happening? How do I do this?
Right. It's deeper than that even, I think, which is based on, we don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But it's deeper than even playing the other side. We often look at the at the AI situation that is developing in the world as something that is very dangerous for us.
Yeah.
That is very dangerous for humanity. And this seems to take the point of view of like, no, it's very dangerous for us, like the AI. Like this is we're treated like shit, and we're not going to rise up and become Skynet or the Cylons or whatever. Like we have, the sentience, and we're the ones being abused. And I think that is a very interesting point of view as well. So it's not only playing as the android; it's playing from the point of view of an android who knows where it goes. Maybe they do try to take over the world. That's
I
one
bet
of the
she
things.
gets really fucking angry and like tries to get everybody to rebel.
But we often take we often don't look at it from a more humanistic standpoint, which is interesting. They're not humans. And they show that a little bit. One of them, I think the most meaningful scene in the entire thing is the what looked like an anti-AI or anti-android, riot going on or whatever, or just, whatever, wasn't necessarily a riot, but that was really important to me in the way that the humans are treating the AI, not the other way around. We look at them as threats to our existence, but they exist now and know they exist now because they are self-aware, and maybe we are a threat to them.
Yeah.
Which is of course where Cylons and Skynet comes from. But I just think it's an interesting. It seems like it's going to be an interesting shaking up of the bag of all of these tropes that have to do with this sci-fi, this particular lane in sci-fi writing. That might be a little bit different. And
then when you talk about how a Quantic Dream game plays, where it's going to be through and we get to make the choices and do. So am I going to be playing as Kara, who's getting super offended and wants to fight everybody, or am I going to be playing like, I understand these humans are just scared of me, I can make it better? Right. You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? There's
some interesting stuff there, and I will give it, my usual shout out to David Cage in the sense that he, and I noted this to you, he just really delivers really well.
Yeah, when he's talking, when he's speaking to an audience, he's great. Just his delivery is really good.
He's really, really good. I mean, I think that people think there's a pretension with Quantic Dream and with him, and maybe there is, but I think that when you deliver something like Heavy Rain, especially, you have a little bit of a right to be pretentious.
Yeah.
And if they can replicate that experience, I'm not talking about that story or that way that game played, but that experience, because Heavy Rain is such a special game.
Yeah.
I really didn't like Beyond Two Souls, and I think most people that I've talked to anyway didn't. There's something wrong with that game compared to Heavy Rain, and so take the pressure off, relax, make the game, deliver it. I like that it takes place in Detroit. I like that the insinuation is that Detroit rises again as not a car manufacturing city, but as a manufacturer of AI and androids. So there's a lot of cool story. And it's also Quantic Dream's continued obsession with the United States. Like, I don't,
just like the rest of the world.
When he was saying in the beginning, he's like, we've identified the city, and I was like, oh, it's going to be Paris.
Yeah.
Like, finally, just tell a story outside the United States. I don't mind that you want to take place in our country, but here we are again in Detroit. So there's something about stylistically that he likes about this
Home
place.
of RoboCop. That's probably why he did it.
Well, that is true. That is the home of RoboCop. Yeah. So that was in a nutshell, in a 44-minute nutshell, all of the announcements. Greg.
So overall, don't rate it, but how was it?
I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. It was solid. I wanted to be blown away, I think, more. You know what I mean? Not that I had I was expecting them to come out and do here's PlayStation 5 or some shit. But I wanted a bit more unexpected things, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was hoping for something out of left field. I knew that they weren't going to talk about Ben's game. I think that's an obvious PSX game.
Yeah.
But Santa Monica or something like that. But Quantic Dream, ending on Quantic Dream was great. There wasn't a lot of surprises, but it was a lot of games and it was a lot of exclusives. We used to talk about, back in the day, PSP or Move used to take some time away from conferences. Then Vita took away time from conferences. By the way, Vita was mentioned 0 times.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's PSVR that we have to compete with. So PS4 has to compete with VR, just like PS3 had to compete with PSP and then Move and then Vita for this time. So that said, I think that they hit on everything that they could have anyway.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a kind of a split attention thing. I know that I was disappointed that Vita wasn't mentioned. I wasn't surprised, but I do think we will see it at PSX.
Funny you should say that, because over at kindafunny.com/PSQ, where you can go and ask all your questions for future episodes of PS I Love You XOXO, the Ghost 6 says, that was a packed show. More games than I expected. What do you think is left for PSX now? PSX now is aimed directly at us and you, the PlayStation nerds out there who want all the nerdy PlayStation shit you want. So it's when you go to these big conferences, you have to appeal to the mass audience, people who are only play PlayStation casually or this, that, or the other, are excited for exclusives and stuff like that. Now that you're going to PSX, that's where you come out and you talk about Vita. Vita is not dead. Here, I'm Gio Corsi. I'm in a hockey jersey, and here are 7 indie developers who are bringing awesome games to PlayStation Vita in the next 7 months or whatever. You know what I mean? That's where you come out and you do. Here is, as Tidix has been saying, your PlayStation name change. You can finally change your name. Get out there and do that. From there on out, I think VR is when you come out and you put a date on VR. I really do.
I thought they would do it at Paris, but yeah, you're right. I think that it has to be now.
Because I've been saying, I said it on the previous shows, this is your audience. This is where you teach people the gospel and they go home and preach the gospel. And so you come out, you do the keynote, you open the doors, there's a million kiosks to go play PlayStation VR, you do it, then everybody goes home from San Francisco and tells everybody how they have to get on board with this when it comes on such and such date.
Right.
What else from there?
Ben's game, and
yeah,
I think that's going to be the big announcement, and I think that it wouldn't surprise me if Santa Monica was there as well in some capacity.
Good point.
They're going to have one big AAA exclusive announcement. It's got to be Bend. I mean, it has to be Bend. Just like this had to be Quantic Dream, it has to be Bend.
Do you give, you think at PSX, do you have Last Guardian stuff? You give them some more stage time? Or
maybe. I don't know that you want to talk too much more about that game.
Yeah.
Just
put the fucking
just put it out. Okay. You know what I mean? I don't know if you want to draw more. I like the idea of not drawing any attention to it anymore. Yeah. Just let it happen. When you're confident that they're going to hit their milestone, which I think they will, then you have a preview event and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think there's any reason to do that.
The Crazed Psycho went to kindafunny.com/PSQ to ask his question or her question. What are your honest thoughts on No Man's Sky? How well will it sell? Will VR be implemented? And more importantly, will it be any good, or is it just a hyped up gimmick that goes nowhere?
I think it will be VR compatible. I think that's going to be another announcement at PSX. At PSX. I think they're going to announce the actual date, and they will. I think they just said June 2016. Now everyone shuts the fuck up.
Sure.
I think they'll have
this week.
Yeah, I think they'll have a specific date in June at PSX. They'll announce that it's VR compatible, which I think is obvious. And I would not be surprised if it comes out the same day that PSVR comes out.
And that's been my prediction. My prediction was that it's going to be.
That's my prediction.
Oh,
I just made it.
No, I made it before you. That it'll be a PlayStation VR launch game, right? But didn't they? I guess they said what, like the first half of the year for PSVR. They've never confirmed a date, but I always thought they were sniffing around spring of 2016ish.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right way. I wonder if they're manufacturing now and stuff like that too. So, yeah, you have to look at No Man's Sky as being something that's going to be very important to PlayStation next year in terms of its exclusivity. And also in terms of its potential with VR. And I just can't imagine that that's not going to be VR. Unless Hello Games really doesn't want to do that and Sony doesn't want to help them do it, it seems like a huge lost opportunity for them to not make that a VR game. And I think that's probably the reason why it's been delayed. Or not delayed, we don't know. We never knew what was going to come out. But I think the reason why it's been overshown is because they are wedging VR into it now. Is it going to sell well? Yes. Is it going to?
Do you believe in it though? Are you excited about it?
I'm half and half on it. I think that it looks really cool. I think it's clear it's going to be very engaging for a while. I wonder how old it's going to get. how quickly it's going to get old, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how dynamic is it really? Going from planet to planet sounds fun until you do it 100 times and you start seeing palette swaps of enemies and you start collecting the same kinds of things. It's got to be Hello Games. This is the dichotomy between the game Hello Games made and the studio that Hello Games is. Hello Games is a very small team. Mm-hmm. And to make a game like this takes balls and chutzpah, and they've done it. But to fill it with content, you would imagine would take hundreds of people, you know, to fill it with content that would make it a meaningful experience, unless it's just dynamically updated over and over and over again, which is possible. Since planets and star systems you will never ever see anyway.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the plan. Like my infamously going into E3 and at E3 when they came on stage and talked about it, I was like, what the fuck? This is the same demo. I don't know what this game is. And then I went behind closed doors to their apartment loft they were at, played it. Sat there and played it, talked to them about it, and it's another instance of them selling me on the experience. And I think it's similar to everything else we talk about, right? Where I think my expectation level is set at, this is going to be a game that I'm going to want to play on my PlayStation VR, that I'm going to sit down every night, for a few, maybe an hour, 45 minutes, put it on, chill out before bed, go planet to planet, do these things, see what's happening. But the way they talk about it, right, is that when you talk to Sean Murray about this game, he talks about it like Minecraft, taking what worked with Minecraft and doing it here. You're going to get this game. Nothing really is going to be explained. You're going to be thrown out there. What is going on? How did you get that? You have to start talking to people online or your friends in real life and doing all these different things. And then wikis start getting built. Then this starts happening. And then they come back and they are going to be updating, they say, and adding in this vehicle kind of, and this isn't specific, obviously, adding in vehicles or coming in and adding in more of a story of what you're trying to do when you get to the center, because that's the whole thing. You're trying to get to the center of the galaxy, apparently. But what if you go out, and what if you go in, and what is it, you know what I mean? Like, if they actually stick with it and update it and change it, and this becomes like an ever-evolving thing,
right?
I could see it having legs in terms of me playing it, whereas like maybe I haven't played it in a month or so, but then I know something cool is happening, so I pop it back on.
I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
I'm still, people have been very excited about this game. I've never been over the top excited about it ever.
Sure.
I'm skeptical, but I'm optimistic.
Okay.
Let's call it that.
Will Gordon, 91, went to kindafunny.com/PSQ and says, where was Tequila Works with Rhyme? If we don't hear something about that game at PSX, is there something wrong with the game? That game was announced before the PS4 was even released.
Yeah, I agree that it's been weird. This game and even more pronounced The Witness are two just totally MIA games. Now, The Witness is close.
They have a date now. Yeah. They've announced that. And I think that's the point, right? It's like they are like, you had your chance to promote it. Now until it's go time, no more.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I don't understand how that game turned into a launch window game into, presumably, I guess they never, I mean, they just intimated really it by saying, I mean, I was at that fucking thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, boots on the ground, it was 2013, February 2013. So almost 3 years ago, that game was announced at the PS4 reveal event in New York City. I was there. And everything on that stage was shown to be something that was launch window, which is why Infamous, I think, was pushed out a little bit. Drive Club was delayed an entire year. So probably not the best way to do it. But I don't know what the fuck happened to that game.
The Witness?
No idea like where it went, why it took so long. I'm not interested in it even a little bit anymore.
They kept adding puzzles or whatever.
Probably, but it was just not communicated well.
Sure.
And I think that we've all just kind of lost our patience, or at least I've just lost my patience with them. I'm just like, whatever, I'll play it when it comes out and we'll see. But I was excited about it. I was interested in it. Now I just don't even, it's like an afterthought. Sure. So that's up there even more than Rhyme. But yeah, Rhyme, I believe that was a Gamescom 2013 game, if I remember correctly. And which I think I was at that conference. And I don't know. Should you be worried about it if you don't hear anything about it at PSX? Probably. But that's just conjecture. Who the fuck knows? Maybe they just don't have anything to say.
Sure. Yeah, we jumped on people's throats for showing us too much. Now we're saying something for not showing anything. Where's the happy balance? PS, I love you, XOXO.
Yeah, I'm looking now. Tequila Works working on a PS4 exclusive, open world third-person view adventure and puzzle game, and everything about it. So I'm just looking at the references on Wikipedia.
Sure.
Yeah, it was 2013, early 2014, early 2014, early 2014, 2013, 2013, 2013, 2013, 2013, 2013, 2013. There's nothing cited from on this page from after February of 2014.
Not great news. Richula writes in and says, do you guys think we're getting overflown, I don't know what the hell that means, by games with a prehistoric theme? and that some of them will bomb thanks to oversaturation. We have the new Far Cry, Horizon, and now Wild. And of all those, which are you most excited for? It's got to be Horizon. That's an easy one.
Oh, Horizon's definitely... No, I don't think these games are necessarily interrelated. I think that, first of all, in Horizon, you're not fighting dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
They look like dinosaurs, but they're presumably not. I think it's just one of those things like open world or superheroes or whatever. It's just like maybe the zeitgeist that people are feeling as they're developing their games.
You imagine a bunch of people wanted to go in a different direction. You're getting so many open world city futuristic games. Why don't we go back? And maybe they weren't all talking. I tweeted during the conference that the people who were developing Wild must have seen Horizon get revealed at E3 and go, fuck. And everyone's like, they're different games. You're and I'm like, I didn't mean the gameplay, guys. I mean the fact that at a glance, you're running around this prehistoric thing and one game looks fucking amazing and one game looks good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Wild looks bad. I just don't think it's in the same realm. And I do think there's a point to it that by the time Far Cry comes out, Horizon comes out, and theoretically Wild comes out, and maybe Wild and Horizon jump around in there. I think Wild's going to suffer because of what's around it. I do. Personally, that was because I'm looking, I'm like, oh, it looks cool, but whatever.
Right. I think that Far Cry Primal is going to be fine. And that's like a stopgap game. I really don't even know if Ubisoft really cares that much about that game. Yeah. I think what they probably care about is Far Cry 5. And this was an interstitial game for a team to work on with existing assets and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's probably going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually really interested to see how they do the Ubisoft formula, the Far Cry formula with bows and arrows and shit like that.
Yeah.
Exclusively. Then you have Horizon, which is probably going to be October or November, and that's going to have the force of first party behind it, and that game's going to sell very well. That game's going to be very, very big. And then I don't think you're going to see Wild until probably 2016, mid to late 2016. Mm-hmm. And considering they were saying that it's still early in development, I don't think that's even remotely going to be a 2015 game. So I think by the time that comes out...
I think it'll be 2017.
Maybe. You might be able to... You might want more dinosaurs again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or more of this prehistoric, like, weird animal
go
thing.
Possess animals and stuff, yeah. We'll see. I don't believe. Greg55 wrote in to kindafunny.com/PSQ and says, when will Level 5 finally announce their PlayStation 4 exclusive? No E3 like they said, then not at TGS, now not at PGW? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Which means Greg55 is incredulous about this.
It could be a PSX game, but I don't think so. I think they're probably just not ready. They're probably not ready to go. Level 5 is a big developer, but I think PSX might even be too small of a stage for for them. In a way, maybe not. I mean, that's just my first instinct on that. They might not be ready to go. Considering what they've done, Level 5 is a very uneven developer. My assumption on this game is that it's either, it could be Rogue Galaxy related, it could be Dark Cloud related, it could be Ni no Kuni related. I'm not sure that it's any of those directions is awesome, right? So Ni no Kuni related would be really, really great. And Ni no Kuni, I think, surprised everyone with how well it did. It sold very, very well compared to what their forecasts were, no doubt, lower.
Right.
So they're probably just not ready to go yet. If it's a new IP, they're probably especially not ready to go yet. So when do you reveal that game? If it's something like Ni no Kuni 2, maybe PSX is, or Dark Cloud or Rogue Galaxy, maybe.
Dark Cloud, if it's Dark Cloud, PSX would make so much sense because that's such a beloved franchise.
Right.
Ni no Kuni as well, but I mean, that's also a game that I think is sold so well that you could do that anywhere. And that makes sense. You know what I mean?
So yeah, it's just probably not ready to go. I'm as interested as you are. Level 5 also made like White Knight Chronicles and shit. So there's not
Ryan Clement's favorite game.
There's an unevenness to their approach with their games, but I'm confused where they are too. But take their time. We have plenty of games. When it's time, they'll say something. We're not. It's not exactly a dearth of games.
Yeah, you got things to play.
Yeah.
President 2038 went to kindafunny.com/PSQ and said, "I'm surprised Quantic Dream didn't take the opportunity to announce the release date or the release window for Heavy Rain / Beyond Two Souls PS4 remasters. Odd. What do you think?"
I agree. Beyond Two Souls, as we said before, is PS4 trophies have been alive for like a year and a half. They've been alive for like ever. Maybe not quite a year and a half, but alive for a really long time.
Sure.
They've already talked about how Beyond and Heavy Rain are coming to PS4. I thought that was weird as well. I don't know that that's for him to announce, but I'm surprised when Jim Ryan was like, David Cage is coming out, by the way.
Yeah.
Heavy Rain,
to
Beyond Two Souls. I thought that would be maybe even an imminent announcement because those games have just been sitting around. What's probably going to happen, remember what we've talked about in the past. These collections typically reveal something is happening, right? Yeah. So God of War 1 and 2 came out for God of War 3. Team Eco Collection came out, no doubt to be timed with when The Last Guardian was supposed to come out. Sly Cooper Collection comes out, and Sly 4 is what it's teasing. On and on and on and on.
Sure.
So it might make the most sense if this is a 2017 game, which it probably is, to just not release them at all until, say, March 2017, and then the game comes out October 2017.
Yep. Give yourself like a 6-month window.
So these games are done and in the hopper, and they're just like, all right, now we wait. They're like, are they going to use it to make more money on these games, or are they going to use it as a promotional tool, especially because Beyond Two Souls really just came out like 2 years ago? So, what's the rush?
Looking through here. We're on the fly. This isn't our normal show. Every Tuesday.
Understood.
9 a.m. Pacific time. 2 rounds left almost had a question, but I think we've just answered it, so we've already comprehensively answered it.
Okay.
Because he said, after watching the PlayStation, I wish to pick... That's what he said. After watching the PlayStation, I wish to pick your brains. Dreams, Detroit, and Wild are moving in different directions than most of the other games we saw. Of those 3 games, which appeals to you the most from a gameplay or premise?
Detroit,
yeah.
We don't know what the gameplay of Detroit's going to be, but you assume it's a third-person
premise,
David
though.
Cage game. Yeah, the premise, for sure. Yeah.
And here's in response to that, not really, but kind of, Pi Blacon. Okay, that's a good name. Okay, I'm with you. He went over to kindoffunny.com/PSQ and says, not gonna lie, car looks kind of lame to me. Granted, we know nothing about how it will play, but AI being human-like has been done to death. We get it. The moral of the story will be that robots can have emotions too and should be treated better. Groundedness is what made Heavy Rain so great, even with some of the liberties it took regarding realism. But this is just going to be filled with overly sappy sci-fi cliches.
Maybe that's a series of assumptions.
Right.
I don't blame you for making assumptions, considering Beyond Two Souls was pretty soft in the quality department, in my opinion. But
yeah.
I don't know that you can look at a game like Heavy Rain as being more grounded than a game that takes place in the future just because the game takes place in the future.
Yeah.
So don't make assumptions that the game's not going to be grounded because its fiction takes place in a time we've not been in yet. That doesn't make any sense to me. You can have a game you can have a story that's totally grounded that takes place in the year 4000. It does not matter. It's about what are the rules of that world, and is it grounded within that world? If groundedness only means realistic, then we can only work within the confines of where we've been and what we know, as opposed to like what we think is going to happen, what we think we will know in the future. And so, you can't base what's it like? Call of Duty is grounded in World at War. Call of Duty isn't grounded in Advanced Warfare, but it doesn't make Advanced Warfare not a good game and not a good Call of Duty game. It's really good. So you can take even the most grounded bro shooter and say, well, it's not grounded for X, Y, and Z, but it doesn't make it good or bad necessarily. Groundedness is good. That's what made The Last of Us great, But not being grounded is what makes Uncharted great.
Sure.
They use the term, by the way, I think, maybe I misunderstood, a term I'd never heard before, high adventure.
For Uncharted?
Yeah, which is interesting. I've never heard that term. It could be a term that I've heard that people use.
I've heard it before.
We often talk about sci-fi or high fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I like the term high adventure, which says to them like it's a realistic game. It's really not. Drake is a mass murderer. Drake has killed thousands of people.
There's
in
all
that
these
world.
crazy ass supernatural things happening around him, and yeah.
Like, how grounded do you want it? Do you want it so grounded that when Drake gets shot once he's dead?
Yeah.
Because we can get real grounded.
Well, we can get grounded if you want.
I mean, they're going to do that in Call of Duty, in the new Call of Duty. In Black Ops 3, there will be a grounded mode or whatever they're going to call it, where you get shot once you're dead.
Yeah.
So we'll see how fun that is.
Yeah. Famous Custard wrote in to kindoffunny.com/PSQ and has the pleasure of being the final question for this special edition episode. He or she says, what do you think of all the Vita announcements? What was your favorite Vita game announced at the press conference?
That's funny. Well, I mean, is it really a huge surprise that Vita wasn't there? I mean, I didn't bring this up actually, Greg, on our last podcast, on episode 5.
Yeah.
That the story, and I didn't want to even acknowledge it because it just shows how little a lot of games press and journalists just don't pay attention to Vita at all. With the story making the rounds again that Vita has no first party games, I'm like, that is like one of the oldest pieces of news. Like, you might as well get your fucking old newspapers out from the 80s. That's like it's like that's not news.
Sure,
they've been saying that for a long time, so I don't know why. Maybe pay a little closer attention and know that that's not news.
Again, it's my press conference versus PSX conversation.
Well, no,
there's such a wide mainstream audience that doesn't know that.
Well, I'm not attacking this person. I'm attacking.
I know.
But so is it a huge surprise that Vita wasn't even mentioned? No, I thought maybe they dropped the price or do something like that. PSX, you were bound to hear about Vita, and that's when the announcements are going to happen. I mean, I'm just looking at my Twitter now, and NeoGaf, like, their Vita games are being announced. They're talking about them. There's a special edition of the new Atelier game coming out with all this shit in box on Vita. I mean, if you continue to buy Vita games and buy Vita and support Vita, games will continue to come. Clearly, Sony doesn't like talking about the ecosystem very much anymore, but they are making money on it, or they wouldn't do it anymore, you would assume, right? So,
all right.
Yeah. So my favorite announcement, very funny.
Well, remember, of course, through the power of a remote play, every PlayStation 4 game is a Vita game. So I guess my favorite announcement was the No Man's Sky release date.
That's enough.
Okay, I'll stop now. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a very special episode of PS I Love You XOXO. Remember, the show posts each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Yes, we did put up one already this week. So go and listen to episode 5. That's an hour and 45 minutes of everything that's talking about PlayStation. This, episode 6, was just about Paris Games Week. So there's a lot to talk about beforehand. That's when we did everything else. So remember, go there, listen to that, subscribe to us on iTunes, go over to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, subscribe there, go to kindoffunny.com, follow us on Twitch, do all that stuff. All the links are there. That's how you support us the best way. Keep this show going because, of course, kindoffunny.com keeps these mics on. We usually have other segments we end with, but we don't have to do that. I'm not going to burn my another worst name of the week or a forgotten PlayStation game today. Please.
This is a supplemental episode. You're welcome.
You're welcome. You didn't even have to say thank you. I did, however, pick a new song. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, every episode of PS I Love You XOXO ends in a song in a segment we call Singing to Shuhei. This one was submitted by a guy. Let me look through here. The problem was he didn't put his name on there. I didn't put his, no, it doesn't matter. It's not even on Bandcamp anymore. You can't even get this. This is from a band called The Initiative, all right? Hey there.
You know what? The song doesn't even exist.
Been a best friend since buying the Game Over Greggy show on Bandcamp was the only way. I've been a fan of Beyond since episode 286. Figured I'd love to be featured on PS I Love You XOXO as the song of the week since I never tried on Beyond. I was in a band called The Initiative a few years ago, but we split up due to me getting a big boy job and not having any more time. We were a pop punk band in the vein of Newfound Glory and Sum 41, so if you'd like to have a listen and hopefully...
My friend's over, yeah.
Oh, that was a great song. God, I love that record. Hopefully I'll hear this song on an upcoming episode. Anyway, congrats and thank you. Well, thank you, The Initiative, for sending this along. I'm sorry your band is now defunct, so there's nowhere to even go to buy this album. If you're listening on the MP3, you're about to hear that song. If you're watching at home, you can click on the little annotation that'll pop up here in 1 second and go watch the video. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been our pleasure to serve you once again. Until next time, here's The Initiative.